Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. This one's going to be an interesting one. We're going to try and do some problem diagnosis on a Penn Spinfisher V. It's the 7500 LC or long cast. Our friends in Europe would call these pit reels. Very big spool, and it leaves the place, the rotor, and the spool goes travels up and down with that. And this one's interesting. It's a shielded spool, but the problem, as you can see, is, well, the spool doesn't go up and down. So we're going to go ahead and take this reel apart and find out why that is. And this is a very interesting reel, so we'll do a video on this, and then we'll do a video on servicing it once parts are had. So I got a question the other day on a Penn battle with the same issue. My spool doesn't go up and down. Well, in order to understand why that wouldn't happen that way, you need to go and understand how the spool oscillates and then what the weak points are. Now, in a Penn battle, you have a spool, an axle shaft, a main gear. Behind the main gear is a secondary drive gear. The secondary drive gear interfaces with an oscillation gear that holds a crosswind block. And when you turn the main gear, that's going to turn the rotor. The back end of the main gear is going to turn the oscillation gear, and the crosswind block, which is offset, is going to go up and down. So when you look to see what the cause of the axle not going up and down is, it's either going to be the back end of the drive of the main gear, it's going to be the oscillation gear, or it's going to be the crosswind block. In this case, the setup is a little bit different. This reel has a setup that's similar to some of the Shimano reels, where you would have a worm drive. So we're going to do the same thing here that we did with the other one. We're going to just try and figure it out. All right. When you work on a gear and you try to diagnose what that real issue might be, go ahead and go out to the internet, find the schematic for the reel. And this is where we're very much interested in. It's what is driving the axle shaft up and down. Well, we have our worm drive here, very much like a level line drive. We have an assembly that holds a pawl, and then we have the attachment to the axle shaft. So if you don't know what you're in for, go ahead and get that schematic. That'll help you to understand what it is. Well, we've removed this spool, and as we continue to take those exterior pieces and parts off, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel, particularly if you like the art of reel repair and service, or if you just like learning about fishing reels. I try to cover an awful lot in here, all kinds of fishing rods, reels, types, and fishing activities. Try to cover a broad base of those, and well, you may not find something that you like one time, and the next time you may say, boy, I'm really glad we did that video. So go ahead and subscribe. If you do, hit the notification button and you'll see what I'm posting. This is a little click mechanism that lets you know that the drag is working. That should simply pull off, and it does. There's two pieces to that, I think. I think that little metal piece goes on top of it. Now you need a long reach Phillips head screwdriver, because there's a tie down for the nut that's going to hold this rotor in place. So go ahead in there and remove that nut. Before you remove the nut, you got to take that tie down screw out, and then we should be able to get this next piece with a socket. And of course, the sockets are always shorter than the reach, so in this case I'm just going to use a pliers and turn the socket that way, and then I can remove that nut by hand. At least I hope I can. Yep, that's out. Now the rotor should come off, and that's going to show you what's going on underneath this reel. When I take my pieces and parts off, they all go into a parts tray. It's the bottom of a fast food container. And I put them in there so that when I go to reinstall the reel, well, I know where they are. Particularly little things like those tie-down screws. Well, up top here is metal casing we can see on the reel. Very nice body for the reel. We have a side plate now that you had to take that top off in order to get to the one screw that's holding it in from on top. So we're going to go ahead and pull this off. And then there's 3 more screws that attach. When I go and do side plate screws, I've learned from experience that you should check them before you put them into the parts tray, because one screw may be shorter or longer than another one. And well, if you don't notice that initially, it could be a problem later on when you go to put a short screw into a longer hole, or the long screw into the short hole. Alright, that's 2. This is the 3rd one. So if you have a question on this reel or any reel in particular, if you leave it in the comments section, I'll try and answer that question for you. So far, those side plate screws are all the same. As I mentioned, a lot of times they are, sometimes they're not. So it doesn't hurt to take a moment to try and find it out. Alright, that's the 4th one. As best I can tell, this should come off now. Well, I'm noticing that there's two more screws here. I'm going to think that these 2 are holding that in. It didn't just come right out, so let's see if that's not an additional tie down here. I could look at that schematic that I have. That's always a good tell. Not for the moment. We know that the 2 small screws now belong in this, and I'm just going to take them, and the 4 side plate screws, I'm going to put them all in the corner of the tray so that I don't lose them. And we're going to try again. That's held on tightly. There is a little... Let's try this now. I think we have a rubber seal here as well. Yeah, there's a rubber seal here that has to come off. Obviously, first time I'm working this. There we go. So you want to, I'm just using a utility knife just as a wedge, just to move this in. This is a reel that's had quite a journey here. Looks like we have a tie down screw here. It's got a lot of paint loss on it. It's very rough. And well, it's just not performing right, is it? Alright, that's the 3rd of those small ones, so that's going to go join my pile of side plate screws. Now we should be able to get the rest off. There you go. With that off now, we should be able to find a way to take this side plate off. There we go. It's coming off, albeit slowly. This is a very heavy duty case. I got to find out what's been going on there. Okay, so the first part up, then we've got a very dirty reel. I can tell that that was going to be the case just by the performance on this reel. I'm not sure if this reel got sanded or not. It's always good for me to put a glove on at this point because, well, there's a lot of dirt and junk in there that I'd like to keep off my hand. So this one was sent in locally. It's fell in New York that had it dropped off. And now we're going to turn this reel and see what's going on. Well, right now we're seeing that there's no oscillation whatsoever. So this worm drive is not being driven. That should happen from the gear up here. There's a double gear that should be moving that, which it isn't. And I don't know why that is, but let's go ahead and take the balance of this off then. See if we can't move this down. I'm going to remove the travel assembly here. This is a little clip that's going to be holding the pawl in. Again, for a reference point, you can check with the schematic. Laying them on my table to make sure they're the same. Now if I could get this pawl out, able to determine. Well, the pole is okay. I'm checking the pole now. It appears to be okay. A lot of dirt on this one too. That's going to go into my tray. My clip is going to go into my tray. My 2 screws are going to go into the tray. And with the pole removed, I should be able to just push this down now and out of the way. Now let's take a look and see what we have for that crosswind block. And it's hard kind of working through all of the debris here. Alright, well I have a small nut that's holding this on here. I don't know if I can get that off with the pliers. I can, so let's just spin that nut out of the way. I generally don't like working on reels and using pliers because they can rip the corners of the nut, but in this case it's just turning freely, so we're just going to be patient, because patience always wins when it comes to reel repair. I was told a long time ago when I started this, there's 2 things you need in reel repair. One is patience, and the other is a sense of humor. And boy, if that isn't the truth, you got to be able to laugh at yourself. You got to be able to laugh at what some of these folks do. Because if you try and take it too seriously, well, you're going to get frustrated. All right, this is almost off. This is the first time I've seen a crosswind block kind of held on with a nut. Again, this is a very heavy-duty reel. Make no mistake about that. And I apologize for this taking longer than it probably should, but I'm only kind of getting these in 1/8 of an inch turns. There we go. That's off now. So that's the nut that's holding that on. That goes into my parts tray. Now we should be able to pull this up and out. Separate that down. I should check on this side to make sure that there's not a nut holding that pin gear on, or a screw rather. Some of these Spinfishers have that, some don't. I'm just using a channel lock pliers here. Nope, there's no nut there. That's always a good thing. And we should just be able to walk the main gear out now. Sometimes easier said than done. Especially with all the old grease in it. There we go. The main gear is out. And we still haven't figured out why this isn't driving. Well, there's a pile of dirty old grease up here on this pinion gear, and I'm not sure if that's having any effect or not. But what we have underneath here, we have the pinion gear. The pinion gear is going to drive a gear in the back, which is going to have small teeth on it up top here to drive this one. And it seems like one of these is missing something. Well, my understanding of the reel is going to be that the gear there will have to be replaced. Yep, that's it. There's small teeth on that gear above that's not. And, well, we're just going to continue with this. We're going to remove that whole assembly then. It holds the pinion gear up top. And I think you're probably getting the sense of how to service this reel while you're at it, because, well, we've essentially taken off all the parts. And when you take off all those parts, the idea behind the servicing is to make sure that they're inspected. In this case, we know we got something broken here, that they are cleaned. In this case, we got a very dirty reel, and then lubricated and reassembled. Okay, here's the fourth one. All those screws are the same. We should be able to remove this now. This is a good place to tell you to take pictures. We have a anti-reverse wind here. It's got a little spring on it. So you got to make sure as you work with this reel that you don't lose that spring and that you know where it is located. I'm just going to detach that right now so that it doesn't pop off. And now this whole assembly should come out. Should be the operative word. Everything in this reel seems tight. I think this is a rubber seal collar here that's supposed to keep the water out of the reel. That would make all the sense in the world. All right, that's out now, as are a couple of the roller bearings that belong in there. And now we can get a better look at what's going on behind the scenes here. You can see that there's a drive gear behind here, right there. And my thinking is that the drive gear, for whatever reason, is not... Oh, there we go. So we have a broken tooth on the drive gear for that worm drive. So when that gets to the point right there where it should be hiding, it won't drive the reel because of the broken tooth. All right, well, we know what it is. We've showed you a little bit about how to deal with that. And we're going to go replace we're going to reorder the part. We will replace it, and we'll get this reel fishing again. Wow. All right, before I lose those little roller bearings, I'm going to put them right back in. I don't like these open roller bearing setups, but that's what we have here, and that's why they keep falling out. All right, I'm going to put those into a little plastic bag so that I don't lose them. I'm going to set that whole assembly aside. We'll order the part, and then we'll come back and we'll make sure that this reel goes fishing again. So that's how you do problem diagnosis. That's how you understand what's wrong, and then you go about fixing it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And to all of our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do. To everybody, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.